I think it's important for us to focus inward. We can't control them and they and those. All we can do is try to control us. Hi, I'm Dr. Jarek Conrad. Welcome to Healthy and Black, where I share information about the state of health for Black America across 7 categories, from emotional health to physical health. I became plant-based over 15 years ago after losing so many of my family members to chronic health issues. Now I want to help you take control of your health. Welcome to this episode of Healthy and Black. So here we are. We've witnessed a movie trailer, a preview of what we're about to experience over the next 4 years as it relates to really important issues like diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. As you might imagine, folks have been wanting to know my take on this. To be honest with you, I've been trying to sort through what my plan is over the next 4 years to deal with just the myriad of things that are going to come our way. It keeps coming back to, well, what are they saying? Can you believe what they're doing? Can you believe what they believe? How can they be like this? And I think it's important for us to focus inward. We can't control them and they and those. All we can do is try to control us. And so my response to this is, it's not about just being resilient through these changes, being able to withstand whatever it is that comes our way and regaining our form, bouncing back, going back to where we were, because where we were wasn't a great place to begin with. And so it's got to be beyond resilience. It's got to be deeper than that. And for it to be deeper than that, we have to be the best versions of ourselves before we can hope to make the change that we want to make in the world. So that's where I'll focus on this episode. So the first question is, who do you want to be? Who do you want to be? When you think about someone describing you to others, what are the qualities that jump to mind first? What do you want those things to look like? And I would start with yourself. Who do you want to be for yourself? How do you want to show up for yourself? How do you want to respond when you hear things that you don't necessarily agree with? How do you want to respond when you interact with people who have ideas or perceptions that are not in concert with your own? Who do you want to be in those situations for yourself? How do you want to manage your stress? How do you want to take care of your own health and wellness? How do you want to continue to invest in yourself and develop good habits relating to, all the things that I talk about: eating well, taking care of your body, sleeping well? Another question is, who do you want to be for other people? For the people that you love, for the people that you're close to, and the people that just maybe associated with you that you have some interaction with. Who do you want to be for them? How would they describe you? When they're talking about you, do they smile automatically because it's been a positive relationship, or do they frown, or are they pretty indifferent when they talk about you? Another question is, who do you want to be for the people you don't know? The people you run into in the grocery store, the people that you pass on the street, the people that you ride alongside of in traffic, the people sitting next to you on the airplane, like those strangers that are kind of in your proximity. Who do you want to be for them? Does it matter at all how they would describe the interaction that they just had with this stranger on the plane or the train, um, what would they say? And in the short period of time, the brief interaction they have with you, would the words that they use to describe you be aligned with the words that the people who know you would use to describe you? So those are the top line questions. Who do you want to be for yourself? Who do you want to be? And how do you want to show up for the people who know you? And and how do you want to show up for the people that don't know you? How do we make sure that this is about us and the things that we can have some impact on, and not about them and what they're doing and how they feel and decisions that they're making? I think this is how we build the armor that we need. All of this, gets down to me to emotional intelligence. No surprise, right? But I'm thinking about things like your optimism, your ability to manage stress, your impulse control, your assertiveness, empathy. All these attributes are going to be critical in terms of how we're going to be able to cope, and how we're going to bring others along with us. So those are the top line questions. For each one of those questions, go to the next level and ask why. So if you say, well, I want to be seen as an empathetic person. Well, why? Why is that important? Well, I want to be looked at as dependable. Why? Why is that so important? Why does that rise to, the top two or three attributes you would use to describe yourself? Why? So when you answer each one of those questions, the next question is why. And some of those questions deserve another why. So, how do you want people to see you? Well, I want them to think of me as intelligent. Why? Well, because intelligence was valued very highly in my family. Why? Because my parents or one of my parents had an experience where they were treated in a way that they weren't respected for their intelligence. So they made sure that that was something that, was really important to us and our family and our upbringing. It's important to kind of understand that because then you decide whether or not you want to hold on to that, whether or not that really is your thing or the thing that you have inherited and you feel like I just have to fill this role. What is your thing? Who do you want to be? Now, what people expect of you and the gap between who you are, who you want to be, and what people expect of you, that's a whole different conversation that is worth delving into. But right now, who do you want to be and why? Why is that important? And then you got to figure out, why am I not that person anyway? Or why am I not that person consistently right now? What are the barriers? What are the roadblocks? What are the challenges that I face on a regular basis that prevent me from showing up in the way that I like to show up, whether it's for myself, whether it's for other people? What are the things that are keeping me from being that person? And what of those are within my control? You know, it's fascinating when you talk to people. It's all about what somebody else did, what somebody else didn't do, what somebody wouldn't let you do, opportunity somebody didn't grant you. It's always something that somebody else did. It's always somebody else's fault. How do you start to harness all that energy and focus on this internal locus of control? There are some things that I have some influence over, and I'm going to exert that influence over those things in a very intentional way, which takes some work. So mindfulness absolutely comes to mind here. mindfulness is being in the moment, you know, in the moment. I'm reading and reacting to things, and I am controlling my response to them. I'm not just reacting in a way that is arbitrary or just emotionally driven. I'm thoughtful about this. I am responding in a way that has some thinking behind it, that has some intent. So these are going to be really, really critical skills for us. The other thing with all of this is, how do I know if I'm making progress? So it's really important that there's somebody that you can talk to, whether it's a spouse, a friend, a family member, whether it's a therapist. I mean, it's really fascinating now that I'm back doing a lot of executive coaching. The percentage of people who I'm coaching who also have therapists, I mean, it's skyrocketed compared to 10 years ago when I used to do executive coaching. Hardly any of those people had therapists that they talked to on a regular basis. So that's the good news, that people are reaching out and recognizing that they need to get stuff out, and they need some professional help to help them kind of sort through what they are experiencing. So I would encourage that for people. Make sure that there is someone in your life that you can bounce these ideas off of. And make sure that there are people in your life who are going to be honest. When you ask, who am I? And you're trying to understand, you're trying to ascertain the type of impact you're having on people, you need folks that are going to be honest and to tell you the great things and to tell you the not so great things. This brings up a point question for you. Do you think it's more important to focus on your strengths and just really spending your energy making sure that those are as good as they possibly can be, that you're amplifying those as much as you possibly can? Or do you think it's worthwhile to spend some time working on these developmental areas? There's some people who say, look, that stuff, if you haven't gotten it by now, you ain't going to get it. No sense in wasting time trying to focus on that stuff. Lean into your strength. I don't agree with that. I think that there's some things that are game changers, right? There are some skills that are competencies that you're not going to be great at. I think for many things, you at least want to get to a basic level where I can at least operate. It's not a deficiency of mine. It's not a strength of mine, but I can at least operate there. And there are some things that are critical as it relates to who you want to be. You need to sort out those things that, are just critical in terms of who I want to be. I can't afford not to work on those if they're not strengths. So you got to identify those, and you got to invest the time to get better at those, because you can't become the person you want to be unless you get better at those, or develop a system to deal with the fact that you might not be good at those things. So detail orientation is not my strength. I'm a big picture kind of thinker. I love big ideas, and I'm not as excited about the details, the trees. However, I can't just say, oh, I'm not good at that, so I'm off the hook. No, I have to develop some systems. So I either hire somebody to work on that stuff, or I put plans in place that are going to remind me of some things that otherwise I wouldn't think about, or I have a mechanism to handle some of those details that I know I wouldn't be good at, but I have to account for those in some way. And some of that stuff I just have to do myself. I just have to focus on spending my energy getting better at those things, even if they're not the most fun, most exciting things for me. I don't get a free pass on something that I need to be able to do. So we got to think about this stuff when it comes to who we want to be, why we want to be this person that we have created on paper. So let's go back to this. So what are these barriers? Write them down. Don't just think about them. There's something about changing something, converting it from being passive to active when you write it down. So write down who you want to be, what the barriers are today, presently in your life that are holding you back from becoming that person. What of those barriers can you control? And now the next step is, what is my plan? What is my plan? And the plan has to start with step one. So we can't spend forever putting together a plan. Get 80% there. You don't need a perfect plan. You need about 80%. This that 80-20 rule. Put a plan that covers you about 80% of the way, and then take that first step and have some measure, some mechanism to be able to assess whether or not you've made some impact in that area. How do you know if you're becoming that person? What kind of feedback are you getting from other people? I mentioned, not just, the stuff that's going to hype you up, but real feedback, constructive kind of feedback as well. That's my strategy for being prepared for just the onslaught of stressors inevitably that are going to come as a result of, all the things that are going on in the world, on top of the things that are going on just in our lives, right? The things that are going on at your job, the things that are going on in your family, the things that are going on in your network in some way. You still got to deal with those things. So how do you focus on being the best version of yourself, being resilient when there's stressors that are going to challenge that? Because as soon as you do something really good, as soon as you get some really good feedback, there's going to be something that happens, something that comes out of left field that's going to try to derail you, that will try to push you off course. And that's where resilience comes in. You might have momentary lapses. How do you keep those momentary lapses from being persistent, continuous issues? Because after that, it's not a lapse anymore, right? It becomes reality. So that reminds me, much of what this is about framing, how we frame things. Do we frame things as problems or opportunities? When we see people behave in ways that we don't like, do we frame them as bad people? Or do we have a frame that suggests maybe they've had a bad day that they're reacting to? Maybe they've had a series of bad days that they're reacting to. How we frame things in our day-to-day lives dictates our response. And we're going to have many things that will come our way that we're going to have to be prepared. We're going to have the armor to protect ourselves against it. And we're going to have a weapon to fight it. Whether your weapon is kindness, whether your weapon is forgiveness, whether your weapon is empathy, whether your weapon is just competition. I'm just competitive. I'm not going to let you get me because I am competitive and I'm going to win. And in this case, winning is I'm going to become this version of who I want to be. I'm going to become my best self. And there's not a whole lot you can do to stop me from getting there. That's where we got to be. If we can get to that point, we're going to be better equipped to deal with the challenges that come our way. We're going to be better equipped to help others deal with the challenges that they may be experiencing. And ultimately, we'll be better equipped to start making a larger impact on some of these societal issues that have us so concerned, so stressed out, feeling uncertain, and oftentimes some people feeling pessimistic or just hopeless about where we are. We can invest in ourselves and restore that hope and optimism and impact that we want to see in the world. So look, send me a note. Let me know if there's anything you'd like for me to talk about, other experts that you'd like to see on the show. I have a lineup of folks I'm reaching out to bring on and talk about various issues related to our health and wellness. But I couldn't ignore this one. us being the best versions of ourselves gives us the best probability to withstand these challenges and come out stronger on the other side. Thank you for tuning in to Healthy and Black. See you soon. Until then, don't let culture, cost, or convenience ruin your health. Take care. Thanks for joining me for this episode of Healthy and Black. I'm your host, Dr. Jarek Conrad. If you have feedback on today's episode, please email info@jarekconrad.com. I'd love to hear from you. Don't forget to visit jarekconrad.com to subscribe to my blog. Thanks for listening. Please tell your friends about the podcast. Until next time, don't let culture, cost, or convenience ruin your health.